Okay, so in the last few videos of this series, we have seen how to create offline texture that are rendered either using a frame buffer object with a fragment shader or a compute shader. Both of these textures were generated off screen and reside in memory. In this tutorial, I will show you how to display full screen these textures that have been stored in memory, and this can be applied also for multiple type of scenario. So what we're going to do, we're going to create a new project that I'm going to place on my desktop quickly. And in a similar way that we use the process, in a similar workflow of the one that we use for the compute shader, we are going to create basically a new default scene. Shift 1 to edit my first render layer. I'm going to select my camera and I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to go with the library selected. I'm going to go under Asset and then New Material. Asset, New Shader, and a fragment shader, and I'm going to import an existing texture, an arbitrary texture that I'm having here. I got a screenshot of the NRG Showcase playground, and I'm going to clamp that to the edge of the screen, and I'm going to import. So basically now I'm going to go under Properties and Material. I'm going to drag and drop my newly created material for editing. As usual, connect my shader, and this time I'm going to create a new texture slot, add a sampler, and I'm going to specify that this type for this slot, it will be a texture, and I'm going to drag and drop my texture to connect it. I'm going to jump over to my coding, select my shader, and now we're basically drawing a full screen quad, meaning that we're going to have vertices that will be sent to the rasterization phase from the range of -1 to 1. And since we are going to indicate the renderer that we want to draw a full screen quad, we're going to have an orthographic view accordingly that is also ranged from -1 to 1 to ensure that we got a full screen perspective. So basically I'm going to paste the code here that since we're basically drawing in 2D, we're having a 2D position, and we're going to use this varying to bridge the texture coordinate, a normalized coordinate from the range of 0 to 1, from the bottom left of our screen to the top right of our screen. And we're going to calculate it by simply saying that the position X and Y, our -1 to 1 range, will be multiplied by 0.5 plus 0.5, which give us 0 to 1. And we're going to send over the position. For my fragment shader, what I'm going to do now, I'm first going to create a new uniform that is a sampler 2D, and I'm going to call it sampler 0, which is the built-in variable to indicate that it will be connected to my first texture slot here at index 0. And on the frag data, first before that, I'm going to paste my varying to have access to it. And I am simply going to say texture 2D is sampler 0 and text. And I'm going to do this instead, text coord.x, and you'll understand why in a moment. Text coord.y, and that's basically it. What I'm going to do, I'm going to send that over. Text coord 0, please. I'm going to send that over to my screen. As I push build, my shader is now ready to be used, and now I need to tell my rendering pipeline then I'm going to use a full screen quad. So I'm under render layer, under the scene property render layers. I am going to go select my first rendering pass that have been created by default for me, and we're not using a camera. We're simply going to use our material, which is going to indicate the internal renderer that we are going to draw inside a full screen quad. And as I do that, I can see that my texture is draw full screen. The only thing is it's upside down. So basically when we are rendering using an off-screen either a frame buffer or through a compute shader, basically the coordinates are inverted compared to the regular range of in this example that was a PNG file of the regular texture file that we are using. This is simply because it's on a different coordinate system. So basically, if you're rendering off screen, you can leave those texture coordinate as they are, because for OpenGL, this is 0, 0 and this is 1, 1. And basically for an example, a PNG, this is 0, 0. The top left corner is 0, 0. So all we have to do is to invert the y coordinate, and that should bring us right back where it should be. And this is how we can draw a full screen quad using NRG.